Reading to the Bible in 1 year, June 9th, Deuteronomy 13 through 14, Psalms 99 through 101, Isaiah 41, and Revelation chapter 11. If a prophet or someone who has dreams rises among you and proclaims a sign or a wonder to you, now this one's important. This is what you're supposed to do with a false prophet. And this is a good thing to have kind of knowledge of to begin with. We've all seen the televangelists who tell you that, well, Jesus, they know that Jesus tiptoed in their room and spoke to them because they saw the footprints on the ground on their lush, super expensive carpet in the morning that they know they didn't put there, so it must have come from Jesus, or some other blasphemous thing that they're saying. Or when they say that they heard a message from God and God told them to X, Y, or Z, whatever it happens to be. This is how you find out whether or not it's true, and this is how you treat those people. Okay. If a prophet or someone who has dreams arises among you and proclaims a sign or a wonder to you, and that sign or wonder he promised you comes about, but he says, let's follow other gods, which you have not known, and let's worship them. Do not listen to that prophet's words or to that dreamer, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. You must follow the Lord your God and fear him. You must keep his commands and listen to him. You must worship him and remain faithful to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death, because he has urged rebellion against the Lord your God, who has brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the place of slavery. To turn you from the way the Lord your God has commanded you to walk, you must purge the evil from among you. If your brother or the son of your mother, or your son or daughter, or the wife that you embrace, or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, let's go and worship other gods, which neither you nor your ancestors have known, any of the gods the peoples around you, near you or far from you, from one end of the earth to the other, do not yield to him or listen to him. Show him no pity, and do not spare him or shield him. Instead, you must kill him. Your hand is to be the first against him, to put him to death, and the hands of all the people. Stone him to death for trying to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery. All Israel will hear and be afraid, and they will no longer do anything evil like this among you. If you hear it said about one of your cities, the Lord your God is giving you to live in, that wicked men have sprung up among you, led the inhabitants of their city astray, and said, let's go and worship other gods which you have not known, you are to inquire, investigate, and interrogate thoroughly. If the report turns out to be true that this detestable act has been done among you, lost my spot, making sure we had notes. If this report turns out to be true that this detestable act has been done among you, you must strike down the inhabitants of that city with the sword, completely destroy everyone in it as well as its livestock with the sword. You are to gather all its spoil into the middle of the city square and completely burn the city and all its spoil for the Lord your God. The city is to remain a mound of ruins forever. It is not to be rebuilt. Nothing set apart for destruction is to remain in your hand, so that the Lord will turn from his burning anger and grant you mercy and show you compassion and multiply you as he swore to your ancestors. This will occur if you obey the Lord your God, keeping all his commands. Now, chapter 14. You are sons of the Lord your God. Do not cut yourselves or make a bald spot on your head on behalf of the dead, For you are a people holy, you are a holy people belonging to the Lord your God. The Lord has chosen you to be his possession out of all the peoples on the face of the earth. Now remember, he's talking about specific practices that the people were doing. As we read through at the beginning of, or rather at the end of verse of chapter 12, the people were told, don't do any of the detestable practices that those people are doing. Well, now he's going through some of those things that these people were doing. He's making examples for them so that they know these are the things they're supposed to avoid. You must not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals you may eat: oxen, sheep, goats, deer, gazelles, roe deer, wild goats, ibexes, antelopes, and mountain sheep. You may eat any animal that has hooves divided in two and chews the cud. But among the ones that chew the cud or have divided hooves, you are not to eat these: camels, hares, and hyraxes. Though they chew the cud, they do not have hooves. They are unclean for you. And pigs, though they have hooves, they do not chew the cud. They are unclean for you. Do not eat their meat or touch their carcasses. You may eat everything from water that has fins and scales, but you may not eat anything that does not have fins and scales. It is unclean for you. You may eat every clean bird, but these are the ones you may not eat: eagles, bearded vultures, black vultures, the kites, any kind of falcon, every kind of raven, ostriches, short-eared owls, gulls, any kind of hawk, little owls, long-eared owls, barn owls, eagle owls, ospreys, cormorants, storks, any kind of heron, hoopoes, and bats. All winged insects are unclean for you, and they may not be eaten. But you may eat every clean flying creature. You are not to eat any carcass. You may give it to a resident alien, a sojourner within your gates, and he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. For you are a holy people belonging to the Lord your God. Do not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Now, briefly on this whole holy people thing, remember, it doesn't mean you are holy like, oh, holy, right? It means that the word holy literally means separated for purpose, or separated for a specific purpose. That's what it means. I only ever drink water out of this container. That's it. No soda, no milk, nothing else goes in here. This is a cup that is holy to the purpose of water drinking. In the same way, the Israelites are holy to the Lord. They're dedicated wholly to God, and God is dedicated to their preservation. So they have to keep all of these statutes. Let's move on. Each year, you are to set aside a tenth of all the produce grown in your fields. You are to eat a tenth of your grain, new wine and fresh oil, and the firstborn of your herd or livestock in the presence of the Lord your God at the place where he chooses to have his name dwell, so that you will always learn to fear the Lord your God. But if the distance is too great for you to carry it, since the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far away from you, since the Lord your God has blessed you, then exchange it for silver, and take the silver in your hand and go to the place that the Lord your God chooses. You may spend the silver on anything you want: cattle, sheep, goats, wine, beer, or anything you desire. And you are to feast there in the presence of the Lord your God and rejoice with your family. Do not neglect the Levite within your city gates, since he has no portion or inheritance among you. At the end of every 3 years, bring a tenth of all your produce for that year and store it within your city gates. Then the Levite, who has no portion or inheritance among you, the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow within your city gates may come, eat, and be satisfied. And the Lord your God will bless you in all the work of your hands that you do. Now Psalms 99 through 101. The Lord reigns. Let the peoples tremble. He is enthroned between the cherubim. Let the earth quake. The Lord is great in Zion. He is exalted above all the peoples. Let them praise your great and awe-inspiring name. He is holy. The mighty King loves justice. You have established fairness. You have administered justice and righteousness in Jacob. Exalt the Lord your God. Bow in worship at his footstool. He is holy. Moses and Aaron were among his priests. Samuel also was among those calling on his name. We'll get to him later. They called to the Lord, and he answered them. He spoke to them in a pillar of cloud. They kept his decrees and statutes that he gave them. Lord our God, Yahweh, you answered them. You are a forgiving God to them, but an avenger of their sinful actions. Exalt the Lord our God. Bow in worship at his holy mountain. For the Lord our God is holy. Now Psalm 100. Let the whole earth shout triumphantly to the Lord. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us, and we are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and bless his name. For the Lord is good, and his faithful love endures forever, his faithfulness through all generations. Now Psalm 101. I will sing of faithful love and justice. I will sing praise to you, Lord. I will pay attention to the way of integrity. When will you come to me? I will live with a heart of integrity in my house. I will not let anything worthless guide me. I hate the practice of transgression. It will not cling to me. A devious heart will be far from me. I will not be involved with evil. I will destroy anyone who secretly slanders his neighbor. I cannot tolerate anyone with haughty eyes, that's pride or prideful, or an arrogant heart. My eyes favor the faithful of the land, so that they may sit down with me. The one who follows the way of integrity may serve me. No one who acts deceitfully will live in my palace. The one who tells lies will not be retained here to guide me. Every morning I will destroy all the wicked of the land, wiping out all evildoers from the Lord's city. Now Isaiah 41. Be silent before me, coasts and islands, and let peoples renew their strength. Let them approach, let them testify. Let's come together for the trial. Who has stirred up someone from the east? In righteousness he calls him to serve. The Lord hands nations over to him, and he subdues kings. He makes them like dust with his sword, like wind-driven stubble with his bow. He pursues them, going on safely, hardly touching the path with his feet. Who has performed and done this, calling the generations from the beginning? I am Yahweh. I am the Lord, the first and the last. The first and with the last. I am he. The coasts and islands see and are afraid. The whole earth trembles. They approach and arrive. Each one helps the other and says to another, take courage. Craftsman encourages the metal worker, and the one who flattens with the hammer encourages the one who strikes the anvil, saying of the soldering, it is good. He fastens it together with nails so that it will not fall over. But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, descendant of Abraham, my friend, I brought you from the ends of the earth and called you from its farthest corners. I said to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you. I haven't rejected you. Do not fear, for I am with you, and do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you. I will hold on to you with my righteous hand. Be sure that all who are enraged against you will be ashamed and disgraced. Those who contend with you will become as nothing and will perish. You will look for those who contend with you, but you will not find them. Those who war against you will become absolutely nothing. For I am the Lord your God, who holds your right hand, who says to you, do not fear, I will help you. This is the Lord's declaration. Your Redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. See, I will make you into a sharp threshing board, new with many teeth. And you will thresh mountains and pulverize them, and make the hills into chaff. You will winnow them, and a wind will carry them away. A whirlwind will scatter them. But you will rejoice in the Lord. You will boast in the Holy One of Israel. The poor and the needy seek water, but there is none. Their tongues are parched with thirst. I will answer them. I am the Lord, the God of Israel. I will not abandon them. I will open rivers on the barren heights and springs in the middle of the plains. I will turn the desert into a pool and dry land into springs. I will plant cedar, acacia, myrtle, and olive trees in the wilderness. I will put juniper, elm, and cypress trees together in the desert, so that all may see and know, consider and understand that the hand of the Lord has done this. The Holy One of Israel has created it. Submit your case, says the Lord. Present your arguments, says Jacob's king. Let them come and tell us what will happen. Tell us the past events so that we may reflect on them and know the outcome. Or tell us the future. Tell us the coming events. Then we will know that you are gods. Indeed, do something, good or bad. Then we will be in awe when we see it. Look, you are nothing, and your work is worthless. Anyone who chooses you is detestable. He's talking to these idols, these gods. I have stirred up one from the north, and he has come, and one from the east who invokes my name. He will march over rulers as if they were mud, like a potter who treads the clay. Who told about this from the beginning, so that we might know, and from times past, so that we might say, he is right? No one announced it. No one told it. No one heard your words. So I was the first to say to Zion, look, here they are. And I gave Jerusalem a herald with good news. When I look, there is no one. There is no counselor among them. When I ask them, they have nothing to say. Look, all of them are a delusion. Their works are non-existent. Their images are wind and emptiness. All right, let's move on to Revelation chapter 11. Then I was given a measuring reed, like a rod, with these words, go and measure the temple of God and the altar, and count those who worship there. But exclude the courtyard outside the temple, and don't measure it, because it is given to the nations, and they will trample the holy city for 42 months. I will grant my 2 witnesses authority to prophesy for 1,260 days, dressed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands that stand before the Lord of the earth. If anyone wants to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and consumes their enemies. If anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this way. They have authority to close up the sky so that it does not rain during the days of their prophecy. Again, that's 3.5 years, 1,260 days. They also have the power over the waters to turn them into blood and to strike the earth with every plague, whatever they want. When they finish their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss will make war on them, conquer them, and kill them. And their dead bodies will lie in the main street of the great city, which figuratively is called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. And some of the peoples, tribes, and languages and nations will view their bodies for 3.5 days and not permit their bodies to be put in a tomb. Those who live on the earth will gloat over them and celebrate and send gifts to one another, because these two prophets had tormented those who live on the earth. Yes, Dead Prophets' Day. But after 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them. They stood on their feet, and great fear fell on those who saw them. Then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud, while their enemies watched them. At that moment, a violent earthquake took place, and 1/10 of the city fell, and 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake. Again, 7 meaning perfect, and 1,000 meaning a great number. So a huge number of people God has designated that will die at this time will die. The survivors were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe has passed. This is only the second one. Take note, the third woe is coming soon. The seventh angel blew his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven saying, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will reign forever and ever." The 24 elders who were seated before before God on their thrones fell face down and worshiped God, saying, "We give you thanks, Lord God, the Almighty, who is and who was, because you have taken your great power and you have begun to reign. The nations were angry, but your wrath has come. The time has come for the dead to be judged, and to give the reward to your servants, the prophets, to the saints, and to those who fear your name, both small and great. For the time has come to destroy those who destroy the earth." Then the temple of God in heaven was opened, and the ark of his covenant appeared in his temple. And there were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and severe hail. And again, like I said before, read the notes. There's a ton of great notes in this section. They will give you way more information than I can. All right, and that is all for today. So God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.